Static Shock number 8, written by Mark Bernardin, art by Scott McDaniel. We are on the final issue. This is it. And it is pretty much just a recap issue, if not a Static as a whole and his whole story. But we do have a little bit of actual story here. So we pick up on a young girl, probably teens or so, who is hooked into what appears to be a whole bunch of machinery on a subway train. And Static's narrating saying like, oh, she was bullied relentlessly at school. She didn't know whether she wanted to lash out or disappear, and she found a way to do both. And it's apparent that she has some sort of ability that allows her to like merge into this subway train, which is like a mile long, mind you. And she's transformed it into some sort of giant killer mechanical worm thing. So Static's trying to get her attention, being like, hey, you don't have to do this. And she's like, no, I have to. They were so mean to me or whatever. And she's like, all right, I gotta take care of this thing before it gets too bad. And then in the strangest reference, they reference Captain Atom #1, where there's a volcano in the middle of Manhattan. So that's a thing. And so it doesn't even play into the story. They just are heading towards the volcano. I think maybe she's planning on dunking everyone into the lava. But Static gets in there and it's just like, hey, look, here's the thing. Yes, it sucks right now. But it does get better. Everything's going to fade away. All this bullying, all these people that hurt you, they're going to fade away. And apparently the people who bullied her are even on this train. So, yeah, she's just like, all right, fine. I'll stop. And so Static disconnects her from the train. It crashes to the ground. And Static's like, hey, get her some help if you can. Like, just go ahead and get her some help. And then he immediately turns to the bullies and threatens them, saying like, hey, I just sterilized you. I doused your privates in microwaves, so you're never going to breed again. And he was bluffing. Like, he didn't do it, but apparently that's just a thing maybe he could do. So then he says, like, all right, I'm late for school. He goes into school, and he has to go talk to the school psychologist. And the next entire rest of the issue, really, is just him going through his history, how he grew up in Dakota, and it wasn't the best place, but he loved it anyway. He had a friend, Frida, and then talking about the night he got his powers and whatnot, and then all the stuff that happened since then. And this is the only... We're 8 issues, final page, pretty much, of this book. And this is the only time that we go into what actually is and is not canon. Which is to say, who knows? So, he had all this Dakota stuff happen. And then he came over into the DC universe. Like, he got involved with the Teen Titans. But it says that he lost his memories for months. Like, all of that time is apparently just gone. And then it picks up with the cloning of the Sharons, which I have always been confused about, and this only barely explains slightly what happened. So, yeah, regardless, he texts his friend saying, hey, help me get out of this. So, he goes over saying, like, oh, yes, and here's all the stuff that I've done since then. And it just goes over everything that's happened in this book since then, including literally last issue's stuff. But regardless, the whole reason he has to talk to the school psychologist is that either because of how often he is late and how, you know, he's just skipping school and he's like not making friends or whatnot, he's either part of a gang or he's suffering abuse at home. And she doesn't think he's part of a gang because his grades are so great. So she wants to check him for any abuse at home. And during the fight against the train, he had bruised his arm. So he's like, oh no, she'll see my bruise and think that I'm being hurt. But like he apparently has a healing factor that's pretty good. So he focuses it really hard, rolls up his sleeve, and it's just like, there, see, nothing. And she's like, what? I thought for sure there must be some explanation. But at that point, the fire alarm goes off. His friend that he texted is getting him out of class, which his name is literally listed as Quentin. Do I know him? Have we met him? I don't think we've ever met Quentin, but apparently they're good friends. So him, Quentin, and then some girl that I genuinely don't think has been named yet, all run out of the school saying like, all right, guys, what should we do next? Hey! And that's the end of Static. So this feels like it was just the continuation of the last book, which I of course don't know, but I don't know. Do I think it succeeded? Meh. Because again, as jumping onto this, it's a new issue one. I don't know like the stuff that happened, and they gave me bare bones. By the time we hit issue, what was it, 6, and everything started wrapping up, I was so confused as to like anything that was happening. And then these last 2 issues were just nothing. They were just filler issues. So this particular issue, I give like, I don't know, I give it like a 6, just a flat 6. It's just a recap issue. There's not a lot there. I do like the beginning bit. I think it did that pretty well, but I also think that we've kind of already seen that. I feel like troubled teens is just the theme of this book. So yeah, it's fine overall, but it definitely would benefit if you knew the Static lore going into issue 1. This is not a jumping on point in terms of a series at all. And I don't think it would make much more sense even if you had just a passing knowledge. I think you would have actually had to read it in order to get the gist of it. Because I tried, after I read this issue, I tried reading, like looking up and Googling what actually happened, and there's nothing. There is like nothing on the clone Sharons. I can't find it, so that'll just die. I'll die and go to my grave with that mystery on my brain. But yeah, Static was okay the whole way through. Nothing great, nothing special, but it was there.